Hello, this is Len Livesey. I'm your full spectrum Gnostic. We'll be ready to start in a moment. Let me do my checks and make sure that everything is good. And we're going to have a very good show today. We always have good shows, right? Excellent. So just give me 1 minute to get everything going. We got to make sure everything is perfect. Yes. Okay. And we have great sound, and we are in the house. And I just need to do this too. And I'm working by my. Let me see. We are here, we're there, we'll do that. And I think we're good to go. Okay, we're good. I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the. Oh, I'm here too. Excellent. Excellent. I got it both places. Okay. I would like to welcome everyone. This is Knowledge from Beyond. I'm your full spectrum Gnostic. I'm Lynn David Livesey, and we're doing a remote show today because I'm on the inside of the moon. Okay. Very scary. Okay. So this is what we'll be talking about today. Is our moon a giant orbiting alien space station or not? Okay, very, 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 very scary. So let's go ahead and get started. As you know, I always try to bring you the latest and the greatest information. And I would like to say thanks to everyone out there. I got some people chiming in. I got Jill. I got Sheena, if I'm pronouncing your name right. And we got several other people in the house. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free. But as we normally do, we're in the house and let's get started. So, as you always know, we always go back to the beginning. How far back we're going to go this time? How far back? We're going super far back. We're going super far. We don't even know how far back we go because most people believe that the moon has always been there. Of course, it's always been there. You know, it's been the Earth and the moon. They're like salt and pepper. You know, the two goes together. But when you read a lot of ancient texts, some of these texts are very old. The Greeks talked about there was a time before the moon. How can there be a time before the moon? That doesn't make any sense. And they're not talking about in present time. They talk about long, long ago, in eons before there was a moon, and then they started talking. And they're not the only people. And some and some natives myths from all over the world, they talk about the earth before the moon. Okay. No one has never been able to date these things because most of these are legends. But if the moon has always been there, how can there be legends of the time before we had a moon? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Because the moon have always been there. Okay. How can you even fathom the thought of there was a time before there was a moon? That doesn't even make any sense. And, today we don't go by fables and legends and all this stuff because today we got modern science. We like that. We like that scientific method. We like to weigh and calculate everything. So, we've been to that moon over there. I raise another question. Have we been to the moon? And the answer is yes and no. We did a podcast on that. The real fake alien invade. The real fake moon landings. We're going to have to redo that because yes, we did go to the moon and no, we didn't go. and it's very complicated. It was part of the moon landing was real, part of it was fake, but it was put together seamlessly, just like this background of mine. It's put together seamlessly. Okay. What's real and what's not real in those moon landings was very hard, even today, to tell what they did. Because they was running, because what they did on the earth, we're talking about this before we get to the moon. They made a moonscape on the earth. And they made the biggest sound studio at that time in world history. And they made a replica of the Apollo lander. And some of this is even showed in the movie Capricorn 1. That while they was on the moon, they was also in the studio doing it at the same time. And what they had was an A-B switch. Sometime they was filming from the moon, sometime they was filming from the studio. It depends on what they was doing. Okay. If they was doing something on the moon like they didn't mind us seeing, they flipped the switch to A. When they was doing things on the moon and they didn't want us to see it, they switched the switch to B. And it's impossible to tell what is A and what is B. But people have been investigating that. And a lot of years ago, this is why all the moon and photos and things disappeared. They found a lot of discrepancies. When you start comparing two of the same shot. You got the same shot, and it's the both shot of the astronaut and the orbiter and the guys taken. And these pictures was taken maybe supposedly 2 minutes apart or whatever, but the rocks are in different places. And some of those rocks had letters on them, A, B, C, and things. How would rocks on the moon have letters on them? Okay. So we're not talking that today. There's just a lot of things because there is evidence that we did go and there's evidence that we did not go. That both of those are true. We went to the moon for reasons that they still haven't told us about yet. Okay. You know, we was told it was a space with the Russians to see who could build the best rocket ship. Okay. And us and the Russians spent billions and billions of dollars to go to the moon as a way to see who could build the best spaceship. If you believe that lie, you also believe that CERN is just for physics experiments only. You know, we spent billions of dollars to build CERN in Europe, where they're crashing, particles together, and that's just for pure physics purposes only. They're just playing around. They want to see if Einstein was telling the truth or not. That's why they spent billions of dollars. You can believe as many lies as you want, as long as you feel comfortable. Okay. As long as you can sleep at night. That's the reason we love to be lied to. But sooner or later, someone has to come along and tell you the truth. Okay. And then you don't sleep good at night anymore. And that's what, I'm not going to tell you everything. Because, the Bible said you can't feed babies whole food. You have to feed babies baby food. I'm here to give you a few. I'm going to give you a few nuggets you might choke on, but that's the best I can do today. This is going to be really kind of watered down because there's a lot of things even is above my pay grade, and I got friends in pretty high places, but there's a lot of things even they don't want to tell me. I ask questions. There's a lot of time they don't even want to tell me things. Okay. It's not like my last name is Trump or, you get what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. It's not like I'm working with the reptilians or something like that. So I'm only privileged to so much information. But let's get back to that rock, that big giant rock we see in the sky every day. What science has been observing for hundreds of years, ever since the telescope was invented by Galileo. And he didn't exactly invent the telescope, it was invented before Galileo. But that's another subject too. But anyway, ever since Galileo officially discovered the telescope, okay, they've been looking at that moon. And what you don't know, and everything I tell you, you don't have to take my word for it. Because you know land talks crazy. So you can Google it, you can ask Siri, you can do a lot of things, and you will find out that a lot of things Lynn is telling you is true. And you will be shocked. Go to Google and type in the word moon anomalies. And for hundreds of years, since they had a telescope, they've been observing very weird things on the moon, all kind of anomalies. Craters appearing and disappearing, strange flashes of light, shadows, uh, structures on the moon appearing and disappearing, things going across the surface of the moon, all kind of stuff. Colors appearing and disappearing on the moon for hundreds of years. This stuff been going on. It's called moon anomalies, and science have never been able to answer these. This is the reason before we had modern science back in the 1700s and things, they thought that there was life on the moon because they would observe these strange events. And they thought that the moon people was doing this stuff. They was building and crops, and there was, all kind of stuff because they would observe. They didn't know what the stuff was. Okay. And we didn't know what was going on until we went over there, and then they told us. The moon is a desert. There's nothing there. And we all felt a sigh of relief. We said, I'm glad the moon is a desert. There's nothing there. Now I can rest in peace. There's nothing there. It's just an empty desert. I feel good now. I can finally relax. It wasn't the truth, but it sounded good, and it made us sleep at night. Now today, 50 years later, now they're saying, oh, we discovered oxygen on the moon. Oh, we discovered water molecules on the moon. Oh, the moon has a thin atmosphere. Oh, the moon has this. Oh, we discovered, okay. And we're saying, wait a minute, I thought there was a desert with nothing up there. Okay. They're slowly letting the air out of the bag. But we have these strange people that keep trying to tell us stuff because not everything is under man's control. A lot of things is not under man's control. And disclosure was supposed to have happened a long time ago. It has not happened mainly because of greed and selfishness, and they keep saying we're not ready. And I agree we're not ready. But at the pace they're telling us, we will never be ready. In the year 2384, we still won't be ready. So, let's get started. What is going on upstairs? If we want to know what is going on, we got to go back to the book of Enoch. Go back to the Bible. It doesn't make any difference. Go back to the book of Genesis. Genesis says that the watchers came down. They don't say where the watchers was, where they came from, what was they doing, the whole 9 yards. It just said that the watchers came down. Okay, the sons of God. But the book of Enoch goes into massive detail about that. It talks about when El left, he appointed 600 watchers to watch over the earth. Okay. That raises a lot of questions. For one, who is El? Okay. He left. And why did he need to appoint 600 watchers to watch over the earth? Are we endangered? Is something going on that we don't know about? Why do the earth need to be watched over? Okay. But of these 600 watchers he appointed to watch over the earth, 200 of them conspired and came down. That's what the word Anunnaki means. Those who came down. Okay. And we've been reading ever since that the watchers are still there and the watchers are still watching. Okay. But where are they watching from? Oh, they're watching from the center of the galaxy. They're watching from Alpha Centauri. They're watching from a black hole 600,000 light years away and all this stuff. They're watching, because that makes it where you can sleep at night. If someone said, oh, they're watching from the moon, and the moon is full of antennas and all kind of surveillance equipment, and this is why we're being watched. Okay. And this is why the Akasha record contains which is supposed to be several terminals upon the earth where you can access these records. One of these halls of records is under the paw of the Sphinx. But at these terminals, you can access the halls of record, and it has the history not only of mankind, it contains the history of the earth. Okay. And everyone who have ever lived upon the earth. This is why when you die, they say the book is open, because you are being watched. You think the U.S. government is bad. You think the CIA is bad. You think Google and Amazon and Facebook is bad. They don't have nothing on the watchers. Okay. That is what the moon is. The moon is nothing but an orbiting listening station, and it listens to us all day long. It records all of our movements, all of our actions, everything we do. But Lynn, the moon is only available, the moon can only see us at nighttime. Haven't you ever looked up in the sky during the day and see the moon up there? And this is why you keep hearing some things about this Black Knight satellite, because science has now found out that we have a little tiny other moon that circles the earth, a super tiny one, and it's in an exact opposite orbit of our moon on the exact other side. And what modern science can't figure out, according to the laws of physics, if the moon is a natural body that is so close to the earth, how come it doesn't go crashing into the earth? Because the moon is too close. And that's the reason it is tidal locked, where one face of the moon stays locked to the surface of the earth at one time. Because supposedly by science, the gravity of the earth is keeping the moon from rotating, where the rotating of the moon and earth is locked together because they're so close together. But wouldn't that slowly spiral the moon towards the earth? But amazingly, for some strange reason that science can't understand, the moon is staying in what they called an artificial orbit around the earth. The moon, for some reason, it doesn't get closer. It stays like there's a force which is keeping it at that distance. We don't understand that. Another thing science can't explain, just by looking at the moon, you look at it, it looks like it's been beat up for a very long time. It got light patches and dark patches and all kind of craters and this and that. And you're saying, well, the other side of the moon probably look exactly like this side. That's where you would be totally wrong. The other side of the moon, what we call the dark side, is not dark. It's just that we can't see it. The other side of the moon doesn't have any dark spots. It's all one strange color. It's all one solid color. Another thing that science, I could go on all night, but we're just going to hit a few of the good points and try to answer a few of your little questions along the way. Everybody saying hi. I'm grateful for everyone who's here. Please let everybody know that I'm here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'm always great to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Now, what our astronauts found out when they went to the moon, which baffles our scientists even to this day, because now we have sent space probes to a lot of different planets. And all the other planets are like the Earth in a way. You know, the planets supposedly are formed by a ball of gas, which have condensed over time by spinning it. Okay. And when you spin a ball of gas, the lighter stuff will come to the outside and the heavier stuff will go towards the center. This is why we say that the center of the earth is a molten ball of metal. And if you want to find metals, you have to go digging in the earth. And the deeper you go into the earth, the more metals you find. And the lighter materials, like the rocks and granite and limestone, is on the outside of the earth. And as you go in, the earth gets denser. For some strange reason, which science cannot understand. And that is true about all the other planets we have studied. On Mars, Mars is another crazy planet too. Before I say it's only the moon. But that's for another day. We talk about the crazy stuff that's going on Mars. But today we're talking crazy the moon. On the moon, from what scientists can understand, all the metals of the moon is on the outside of the moon. The moon outer surface is super, super hard. They tried drilling into the surface of the moon and it's like super, extremely, super hard condensed rock. It's like some of the hardest rock on earth. So you would say, gosh, maybe the moon is made out of that material. But when they calculate the weight of the moon, the mass of the moon is only a quarter of the mass it should be. And for all this heavy rock on the outside of the moon, how come the density of the moon, the mass of the moon is so low? That doesn't make sense to science. Because if the moon is made out of extremely hard rock, like the surface is, it should be a super heavy ball. But according to their calculations, the moon is extremely light. This is why the gravity is so low. They cannot explain that unless the outside surface of the moon is just a metal shell covering the moon. Okay. There's some crazy books, but there's some books that talk about how the moon was brought to the earth and positioned above how the moon was brought to the earth and positioned in its orbit. And that sounds crazy. How can you position something like that? And what machine could move it? And that must be a crazy story. But then on the backside of the moon, you have a crater that they don't want to talk about. You know, all craters are like an indent, and it's like an indentation where something hit and made a dome. Okay. For one, craters on the moon, if you have craters on the earth, little craters form a little hole, big craters form a big hole, giant craters form a giant hole. On the moon, you have small craters, medium craters, and big craters, but all the craters are of the same depth. They cannot understand that because on Earth, the bigger the crater, the deeper the hole. On the moon, if it is a big crater or a small crater or a medium crater, they're all the same depth. It's like they're hitting something hard below the surface. And all the craters of the moon is like that, except for one, which they don't like to talk about. There is a very strange crater on the backside of the moon. This crater is totally round and it goes straight in and then it cuts like this and then it goes straight in. Now, how do you get a crater formed like a peg or something, or a pin went there or a rod went there? How do that form naturally? And you can find that crater when you look at books or atlases that show the backside of the moon. But what is very strange about all atlases, which I have done this, and when I was doing my research for my books, I must own a dozen atlases. Okay. And I have been to the library and everywhere and look at atlases of the earth and look at atlases of the moon and other things. On the earth, when you compare atlases of Europe, America, they're all the same. When you look at an atlas of Greenland or of Antarctica, the mountain peaks are moving around from one atlas to another atlas. It's like we don't know where the mountain peaks are. Okay. And in a lot of modern atlases, when they take Greenland or Antarctica, they don't even show the mountain peaks anymore. They just make it completely white. But on the older atlases, they do put X's where the mountain peaks are, just like they do for the rest of the world. But when you compare the X's on one map to another map, the X's are moving. They're not all in the same spot. That's very effing strange. Now, let's talk about the moon. If you think I'm lying, Google this, look at moon pictures. Go to the library, do whatever you want to do. Say that guy don't know what he's talking about. He's been drinking too much of that purple Kool-Aid. You know, he's been sipping. Okay, prove me wrong. Pull up atlases of the moon. Every atlas will show you the same picture of the front side of the moon. But if you look at several atlases of the backside of the moon, the craters are in different locations. How can that be? We don't know where they are. How come they move the craters around? And that real giant crater I'm talking about, the one that looks like that goes straight in. Some atlases it's in the middle. Some atlases they put it over here. Some atlases they put it over there. That thing just be moving everywhere. It's like a bumper car. What craziness is going on? This is not 1547 where they don't know where things are. We got all kind of equipment. Okay. And they don't know where the stuff is. Or maybe they don't want us to know where nothing is. See, they can't lie about the front side of the moon. So when you look on any atlas, the front side of the moon is the same in every atlas, because if they tried any funny stuff, you would catch them. You would say, hey, that's not right. But on the back side, why do they do that? Because we don't need to know. Okay. So, why is the moon there? We're going to talk about a lot of different things. The moon is there because, for one, we need to be watched over. Okay. We still haven't got into why we need to be watched. Okay. We still haven't figured out why when El left. Who is El anyway? When he left, why did he have to appoint 600 watchers to watch over the earth? Okay. The earth have always had to be watched over. Okay. For some strange reason. Because we read in that book there's a war going on up there. Okay. And the earth is a prized location. This is why we get so many visitations to our world. This is what a lot of people made the mistake in World War II. When those islanders, you was living on a lonely island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And then all of a sudden, the Japanese came. And they're saying, these people are going to come and try to take over your island. We're here to protect your island. We're going to take half of your island. And they said, damn, our island must be really important. And then the American Sixth Fleet come. And, 100,000 people get killed. 50,000, 70,000 people get killed fighting over your little island. You say, damn, our island must really be effing important. All these people got killed fighting over our little island. Your island wasn't important. After the war, nobody goes there no more. It was only important because during the war, it had a strategic location. Japan needed those islands as refueling stations, and we needed those islands for refueling stations and bombing, so we could take our bombers and try to bomb Japan. And for that reason, we sacrificed the lives of tens of thousands of Americans to take those islands. This is why the earth is so important. The earth has a strategical location in space. And this is why there's so many alien races visiting our world. This is why they got so much junk here. Because we have a strategical location. Okay. And they're willing to fight for this planet. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So this is why they go through all this trouble to watch over us. They're not watching over us. We think we are important. No, this planet is important. They don't give a. If we blow ourselves up tomorrow, Okay. But they need this planet. Okay. And this is why they are here. And this is why they have always been here. Even if you read the old books, the Anunnaki was here because they needed gold. This is why the gods was here. Everybody was always coming here for a reason. Okay. And this is taking us towards our future and the future destiny of mankind, because this is where we're going to be in the future. Back in the good old days, as you read in all the books, man and the gods live together. Okay. That is what they want to get back to, because our technology is getting to the point where it's getting hard for them to hide. So they're not going to hide any longer. This is what the secret space program is about. The secret space program, we already got bases on the moon. We got bases on Mars. We got all kind of stuff you don't know about and you don't need to know about. Okay. But just like with our other stealth planes and things we have, if it's stealth and you can only fly it in the middle of the ocean, the middle of the desert, or at night, is limited capability of what you can do with it. If you want to fly that thing during the day, you got to make it where it's not a secret project anymore. This is why they declassified the B-1, the B-2, and there's several other planes which they're in the process of declassifying now, so they can fly them around. Okay. And that's the reason the military keep telling us, not all UFOs are alien spacecraft. Most of them are not alien spacecraft. Most UFOs we see today are man-made spacecraft. Okay. Because we're working with our friends to talk more crazy stuff. Remember when Reagan was president and we was going to build Star Wars and we was going to build this planetary defense system and we kept saying, but we're going to put all this stuff in outer space and this is going to protect us from the Russians. And they kept saying, no, it's not to protect us from the Russians. And we're going to have all these lasers in space. And if the Russians try to attack, no, we can't, we can't stop World War III. If World War III happened, it's not for that. They never explained why we put all that junk in outer space. Most people don't know how much military equipment we have in outer space. Most people don't know that Hubble is nothing but a military satellite that instead of being pointed in this direction, is pointed in this direction. But Hubble is nothing but a military satellite which is pointed in the wrong direction. It's pointing, you get what I'm saying? Because most those satellites are pointing this way. They just took one and pointed it this way so we can see the stars and the planets. Most of those are pointing towards us. This gets into what the Catholic Church is doing. Do you know the Catholic Church got observatories all over the world? I thought the Catholic Church was broke. How come the Catholic Church got observatories? And their new big giant observatory that they just built 10 years ago, the Lucifer Observatory. Okay, why would you call it? If you're the Catholic Church, why would you make an observatory called the Lucifer Observatory? And they said, oh, it had nothing to do with the devil. It's because of the name. It's just a lunar, they tried to explain it. No, it's the Lucifer Observatory. Okay. What do the Catholic Church know that we don't know? But the Catholic Church already have said, if alien life exists, they have the right to try to convert them to Catholicism. That tells you everything right there. Because when the conquistadors came to came to America, on all of those ships was Spanish priests. And they converted everybody to Catholicism. So in our secret space forces in outer space, maybe there's Catholic priests floating around in outer space too. Okay. There's so much we don't know. And this, going back to our subject of the moon and the moon being hollow, we've been doing something very strange ever since the Apollo days. Every spaceship we have going to the moon. But Lynn, we haven't sent nothing to the moon since the 1960s. You're wrong. We have sent around 15, 20 space probes to the moon since the Apollo days. They just haven't showed us any of the pictures. But what we do on all of these space probes, we always release with the rockets. Once they're finished using all their fuel, we release them so they go crashing into the surface of the moon on purpose. Because we discovered something in the 1960s accidentally. That when things crash against the moon rings like a bell. And if the moon is made of very hard rock, why would it ring? And the reason we keep crashing things into the moon and let the moon ring like a bell, because on the earth, when there's earthquakes, we can use the vibration of the earthquake to try to see inside of the earth. And this is how we can discover oil deposits and things like that. You didn't know that, did you? Okay. And we're letting things crash into the moon because we're trying to map the inside of that thing. And every time it rings, we are trying to pick up read the vibrations of what is on the inside. That's amazing. So we probably have some good idea of what's inside the moon. And we keep crashing things into there all the time. Okay. But then we got in trouble. Because we told everyone, including me and you, that the moon is a barren rock. There's nothing on there. And everyone on the earth believed the lie. The Russians, the Chinese, the Japanese, India, everybody believed the lie. But for some reason, over the last 10 years, they say, wait a minute. I think those people lied. And this is why right now, India has been to the moon. China has been to the moon. Japan has been to the moon. The United Arab Emirates have been to the moon. Everybody and their brother is over the next 20 years. You have like 20 different countries that are trying to send space probes to the moon. They found out, boy, did we lie. We told the world there was nothing there. That's the same lie that that the Spanish did with coming to the Americas. Nobody in Europe know where Spain was getting all this gold from and getting all this money from. They didn't tell anybody. It took the rest of Europe 100 years to figure out what Spain was doing. And then everybody rushed to try to set up colonies in the New World. Okay. But Spain had all of the Americas to themselves for 100 years. We didn't do too well. We only had outer space to ourselves for what? 50 years? But the game's up now. Everybody and their brother is trying to send a space probe to the moon now so they can stick their little flag on it. For some unknown reason that they won't tell us. Because there's goodies up there and everyone's trying to get a hold of the goodies. Okay. And let's talk about what kind of goodies there is up there. Not only is there strange things on the moon, we have found very strange artifacts. We have found crashed alien spaceships on the moon. We have found things that look like ancient abandoned cities on the moon. We have found things that look like giant towers and giant structures on the moon. On the backside of the moon, there's a giant circular pattern, which is called a reflectivity dome. It's on the backside of the moon. That is how they send signals back and forth. Okay, we're going to talk about reflectivity on another show, but that's how they send signals. They do it with flashes of light, and that reflect. The Bible talk about that sea of glass. Okay, that sea of glass is located on the backside of the moon. Okay, that is how they communicate, but it's not us communicating because on the moon you got to be very careful because we're not the only people up there. We're roaming around on the outside, but you got to be very careful because we're not home alone up there. And you got to be very, very careful. And going into, and we have found what they was talking about, some tunnel systems on the moon. You mean there are tunnels on the moon? They was talking about it on one of these Discovery channels where they found these volcanic tubes that that goes several 50 or 100 miles deep into the moon. Okay. I would be very careful messing around with those tubes because a lot of those are not volcanic tubes. See, they're slowly letting the air out of the bag. But the watchers are there. And who knows who else is there. And they're not probably taking too friendly. As long as the natives, they think the natives are kind of loco in the cocoa. Okay. As long as we're, skipping across the moon, hitting golf balls, and things like that, they're really not too concerned with us. But if we start some serious stuff, boy, we're going to have problems. Okay. They have technology we can't even dream of. Okay. We can't even imagine. So one of the theories that they have now is that the moon was not constructed, that the moon was actually a body that was hollowed out from the inside. And that's the reason why all the metals are on the outside of the planet. Because for some reason, what we think they did, which we might do one day, if they set off an explosion inside the moon that made all the material on the outside, on the inside, bleed to the outside, and it just left a hollow shell. Okay. And they calculated it perfectly that the explosion wasn't strong enough to crack the outside of the planet, just strong enough to hollow out the inside. Boy, their math is more advanced than ours. Okay. But we're using similar things like that now. That is how we are now building these giant underground military bases. We calculate the explosion. If we want to open up a cavern, which is, 500 feet by 2,000 feet, we calculate the amount of plastics, explosives, and things we need, and it goes off and it creates a natural cavern of that size. But to do it on the scale of the moon. And what kind of explosives would you use? Nuclear bombs? Antimatter bombs? Who knows? We don't have that technology, and we won't have that technology for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. And if they had it thousands of years ago, I think they're probably a little bit more advanced than our F-35s. Okay. So we can keep dreaming that, if things go wrong, we can always send up our F-22s and F-35 fighters like they do on Independence Day, and we can beat the aliens. I don't think so. They have technology we couldn't even, Okay. Who knows what this thing can do? But this also rules out something else. If they wanted to destroy us, if they wanted to wipe this planet out, if they wanted to kill every man, woman, and child on this planet, they could have did it 1,000,000 times over, and there's nothing we could have done about it. And people been talking about this weird stuff going on the moon for hundreds of years. People have been talking about weird things flying in the air. I don't care. Even in the earliest writings of the Egyptians, of the Middle East, of China, they talk about these silver discs in the air, flying shields, things like that. How they would land and for the and and to the to the king and all this stuff. If they wanted to take us out, they had thousands of years to do that task. Why would you wait until we have nuclear weapons and then say, I think we're going to attack them now? I don't think they're interested. I think to them, we're just monkeys running around in the zoo, throwing rocks and bananas at each other. You get what I'm saying, don't you? And they're like, damn, they're making a lot of noise up there. Okay. You see what I'm saying? This is why the modern UFO era didn't start until we started exploding nuclear bombs. And then they started wondering, what's wrong with those monkeys up there? They're playing around with some pretty big firecrackers. We need to investigate those crazies up there. Okay. But to them, our nuclear bombs are just firecrackers. That's all they are. They're just a big firecracker. And they're like, some of those firecrackers up there is getting kind of out of hand. We need to go up there and try to talk to them or something. Tell them to put those firecrackers away. But this is what is going on. Now, this show today was talking about the strange stuff on the moon and the strange stuff that's going on. We touched about, which we didn't get deep into, strange stuff going on Mars. And there's some strange stuff on Venus too. We ain't going on that either. Okay. But there's a strange things on a lot of planets in our neighborhood, which scientists can't explain. Okay. But the Earth is just as hollow as the moon is. In case you didn't know this. Okay. We know nothing about the inside of the Earth. The Earth is, and it's basically 2,500 miles in diameter, 25,000 miles in diameter. If you was to dig straight down, you have to dig 12,000 miles to get to the center of the Earth. The deepest we have ever dug in the Earth, think, is 12,000 miles to get to the center. The deepest hole we have ever dug on the Earth is 7 miles. Okay. We know nothing. Okay. We know nothing about nothing about nothing. And this is why we're doing on the Earth as we're doing on the moon. Every time there's a big earthquake, we're using the earthquakes to map what's inside of the Earth. Okay. And if you wanted to talk about some weird stuff we don't want to talk about, we're not going to be talking about the Earth. But not only have we picked up radio signals coming from the moon, okay, I guess there's bases up there or something, or somebody's doing something. We have picked up radio signals coming from the inside of the Earth. Okay. And the first person to pick up radio signals from the moon, that was back in the 60s when the Apollo mission was there. No. Tesla and the other radio pioneers, they was picking up signals from the moon around the turn of the century. Back in the 1920s, they was picking up radio signals coming from the moon. Did you know that? Maybe that was Apollo too. You never know. Okay. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things we don't know about. Okay. But we have to keep an eye on our neighbor. Because the moon is watching. And I'm not afraid of them coming out and biting our asses and this and that and whatever. But we need to understand that the time is getting close. And we need disclosure, not only about the UFOs, we need disclosure about a lot of things. Okay, because we are so far behind the eight ball. And I don't know about you. It was said back in the 60s that if mankind ever found out what was truly going on, that human civilization would collapse. All of our institutions and colleges and and all of our religious institutions would collapse. I don't believe that. Okay. It might take us some time to get used to. We might all need a beer or a shot of tequila or something like that to accept what's going on, but we would get over it and we would all move forward. So we're running out of time. We are still waiting for the government to do disclosure, but our alien friends are getting impatient with them, and they are going to do disclosure if we do not hurry up and do disclosure. Okay. And how are they going to do disclosure? Are they just going to come around with one of their big spaceships? Are they just going to just take over our TV sets and control the horizontal and the vertical? Okay. Boy, though that be scary. I can take them controlling with the horizontal, but the vertical, oh my gosh, that's too scary. That's very, very, very scary. We have a lot that we need to know about. We have a lot that we need to learn about. And this subject today was just a glimpse of things that you can look into yourself. If you want to know more about these subjects, don't trust anything I say. Type it into Google. Ask Google. Was there a time before the moon existed? And see what Siri has to say on that subject. Okay. Type into Google hollow moon and see what comes up. Type in moon anomalies and comes up. We didn't even get into Apollo 19. Oh, I thought there was only Apollo 17. We didn't even get on that. Okay. We didn't even touch that. There was several Apollo missions after the official ones ended. We didn't even get them. Okay. We also didn't talk about our German friends. Do you know, according to records we captured after World War II, the Germans went to the moon in 1935. And no, according to German official records that we captured after the war. But the Germans was fighting all over the world. They had nothing better to do than to write thousands of papers about their moon ships and how they built these craft and all these sketches and drawings. They had nothing. They was bored. Okay. According to the Nazis, they went to Mars in 1941, 41. But they was bored. We have no idea. That's what the movie Iron Sky was about, making jokes of that, because we have no idea. But we have discovered some things that look like a swastika in a crater on the moon. It looks exactly like a swastika, but that's probably a natural formation. That's what science said. It's just a natural formation that looks similar to a swastika. You know how nature just, it's just nature, right? Okay. I'm out of time. You need a drink. You need to calm down. But what you really need is disclosure. You need to be open. Okay. Ignorance is bliss, but we're tired of being ignorant. We want to be informed. I did my 2 cents worth, and I can't say more without getting kicked off of Facebook and everywhere else. So I did the best I can do with my little ability. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Is what I'm talking about today. I'm Lynn David Livesey, your full spectrum Gnostic. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I look forward to seeing everyone Tuesday and Thursday of next week. I'm always here for you to try to spill the beans, to try to drive you insane. Until next week, I'm out of here. Thank you. Bye.